مصلحا ومجددا فارنوا بنظر طاهر وجناني.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. In this video we will be inviting Sheikh Hamza Yusuf to the true Islam, Ahmadiyya, through a unique argument. Before we present the argument, I request all viewers to please tweet this video to Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. Now the argument is quite simple. Hamza Yusuf and majority of the Muslims believe that Allah the Almighty raised Hazrat Isa physically up to the skies. However, Allah the Almighty does not say this anywhere, because the verse of the Holy Quran says that Allah raised Hazrat Isa to himself. And Hamza Yusuf knows that Allah is not limited to a certain place. So how then can one believe that this raising was physical? It has to be spiritual, because Allah is not limited to a place. And if you believe that Allah the Almighty physically raised Isa to himself, then you would have to accept that Hazrat Isa is also not limited to a place. Let me make this simple through an argument. I'm sitting here physically on a chair and I'm a physical person, and I am bringing this water bottle closer and closer to me. I am raising it towards myself. Me being a physical person, it's possible for me to physically bring something near me. But we know that like me, Allah the Almighty is not limited to a physical chair or a physical throne. Rather, He is omnipotent and omnipresent. It's not possible for something to physically be raised up to Him. Rather, it would mean spiritual, which is why the scholars have made it clear that when Allah the Almighty causes rafa on someone, it is spiritual raise. They only change the meaning when it comes to Hazrat Isa, and even then they say that here Allah raised him to the skies, but the Quran does not say that. The Quran says Allah raised him to himself, which would mean that it cannot be literal, because Allah is not limited to a specific place. Let us hear Hamza Yusuf explain that Allah is not limited to a place.
There's some anthropomorphic traditions in Islam that, in fact, what's called the Wahhabi or the Salafi tradition tends to have a very anthropomorphic idea about that tradition. And so they will argue that God's actually in the direction up, and they demand. I was once surrounded by a group in Saudi Arabia. I was in Medina, of young students. Some of them were American students that were studying there. And they surrounded me demanding that I assert that God was up, like physically up there. And I said to them, I told them, I said, do you concede that the earth is round? And they said, yes. And I said, well, where do you point if you're on the other side of the planet? What do they do? And that definitely confused them a little bit.
Now this is not the belief of Hamza Yusuf alone. Rather, the great scholars of Islam accept that the world is round, and it is not possible to say that Allah the Almighty is up in a direction, because Allah the Almighty is not limited. Apart from some Salafis, almost all of the Muslims honor and respect Hazrat Imam Fakhruddin al-Razi, and he also beautifully explains this point in his Tafsir al-Kabir. He says, أن العالم كرة فالجهة التي هي فوق بالنسبة إلينا هي تحت بالنسبة إلى ساكن ذلك الجانب الآخر من الأرض وبالعكس. That the world is round, the direction above in relation to us is under in relation to those living on the other side of the planet, and vice versa. He then says, فَلَوْ كَانَ الْمَعْبُودُ مُخْتَصًّا بِجِهَةٍ فَتِلْكَ الْجِهَةُ وَإِنْ كَانَتْ فَوْقًا لِبَعْضِ النَّاسِ لَكِنَّهَا تَحْتَ لِبَعْضٍ آخَرِينَ. That if the one worshipped is specific to a direction, then that direction would be above for some, but under for others. He ends his argument by saying, وَبِاتِّفَاقِ الْأُقَلَاءِ لَا يَجُوزُ أَنْ يُقَالَ الْمَبْعُودُ تحت جميع الأشياء, that it is not permissible by intellectual consensus to say that He, the Creator, is under all things. This leaves the Muslims with two options. If they truly want to follow the Holy Quran, they have to either accept that Allah is omnipotent and omnipresent, and when He says that He raised Hazrat Isa to Himself, it means that He raised Him in the spiritual sense and not that He raised Him physically up to Himself with His body, because that would mean that Hazrat Isa too is now omnipotent and omnipresent, as some of the Deobandis seem to believe. The second option is that you say Allah the Almighty is limited to the throne, and now Allah the Almighty raised Hazrat Isa to the throne. This is the difficulty the Salafis have fallen into. We recently heard Dawah Man accept that he believes Hazrat Isa is next to Allah on the throne, showing that he has the belief of the Christians and has fallen into shirk.
Allah tells us He's above the throne. He tells us He's above. He tells Isa He's going to lift him up to Him. He didn't say, I'm going to lift you up. He said, Ilay, to me. Ilay. Do you want me to spell it out for you?